Okay, I am so excited to have my friend Usha here on our podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you, Usha. And I would love for you to introduce yourself. Say your last name because I feel like I might not get it right. Could you tell us who you are and what you're doing currently?
Okay, my name is Usha, you said it right. And my last name is Nagavarapu. I know it is a little bit difficult, but I wanted to tell this story to just get you comfortable and start it. I grew up in the north of India. My parents hail from the southern part of India. So Nagavarapu is a very southern last name. And growing up in my school in the north, I hope my friends don't hate me for saying this, could not say my name at all. So I went by Usha N. So to this day, my friends all call me Usha N because they could not say Nagavarapu. I moved here in 1990s because you asked me who I am. So I thought this is the best segue to my journey. To start school, and I studied in Ohio, did my PhD there in pharmacology and neuroscience. And one thing that always I appreciate and I remember is most Americans, that's what I say, and I'm an American now, but at that time, would always pronounce my name as correctly as possible. And they said it was very phonetic with all the A's in between. So they used to get it. It could be Nagavarapu, Nagavarapu, but they all got it. And I started feeling very comfortable saying my name, Usha Nagavarapu, and they would get it. So I used to always tell all my friends in school, college, work, I think my name got pronounced correctly in America versus in India. So don't worry about that. That's just something I want to tell you.
Oh, I love that story.
Naga,
Nagavarapu.
Naga, Vara, Pu. So the three syllables, they told me, my lab mates used to tell, Usha, yeah, this is how I got your last name. Naga, Vara, and a Pu. So Naga, Vara, Pu, right?
Nagavarapu. Nagavarapu.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it now. Thank you for sharing that story. Well, I guess when you heard your name being pronounced so beautifully, you felt at home here.
Yeah. After hearing Usha N for over 20 years, or not 20, but 15, 18 years of my life,
Wow.
and having had to always feel very shy to say my last name because in the North it's very uncommon, at least in those days. Now there's a lot more migration and stuff.
Uh,
So it used to be like, oh, how do I say my name? So I never used to say it. I used to just say, okay, Usha N, right? Usha N. That's
love it. I love it. It's so sweet. I That's so fantastic. So where did you come into, like where did you find yourself when you came to the US?
Yeah, so I was always very intrigued by healing, always into medicine all my life, right? Even as a child, I remember those days. And I studied science in India, and research is something that I always was very intrigued. And I knew the States was the place where research happened, or you go to Europe, but States is something that obviously attracted me more for some odd reason. I have no idea why, but I wanted to. So applied as all most people in India do apply. In those days, it was far less than how many more. It's more open community, so more we have more knowledge. But so applied, it was a little bit of an effort taking all these exams and applications, and then I got in, and I just flew here.
Mhm.
And of course, was a bit of a cultural change, but not that bad because I was used to growing up in a very different country. In India, in those days, North was like a different country in many ways and was also similar. So, in the same way, I found a lot of similarities here and then a lot of differences. But that's what attracted me. I loved that part of the world. And I got used to it. I had a great lab, a great advisor at Ohio and at Ohio State. And my lab mates were very, very nice and very helpful. I still have memories of all of those people who helped me during this difficult journey, right? It was getting acclimated culturally, food wise, and the coursework, making sure your grades were good. So because you would lose your assistantship otherwise, right? You had to
Right.
work very hard to keep your GPA up, doing lab work, being in the lab for many hours. That was the biggest change, right? Like you are in the lab from say 9 a.m. to midnight, and I can, past midnight and going home and still studying papers and stuff like that. But once we get over that hill, it is very interesting science, healing, medicine. And then there is so much out here. I felt that I would easily get information, go to the libraries. I love I love the library, so I would be there for a long time, usually if it was not in my lab. So yeah, I studied pharmacology with some aspects of neuroscience. Then I moved to Stanford, and that's where I started working. I joined the Department of Dermatology, School of Medicine in Stanford. Again, a very great postdoc advisor. He's a great dermatologist. And under his wing, and being in Stanford and exposed to lots and lots of science, cultural diversity, I can say. California is very different from Ohio.
Yeah.
So was a little bit of an adjustment, I think. Especially, I think the one thing that struck me was um, how entrepreneurial California is, right? So it was a uphill from being very researchy mind, science driven, didn't think about commercialization, things like that was never on my mind. But I understood like what is due diligence, what is licensing, what is collaboration, how do you build businesses, and how many people are so successful, how hardworking people are. That was something. I mean, I'm not saying people are not hardworking in other states or other parts of the world, but it's a different kind of hardworking. So,
Yeah.
and
I also feel like the Bay Area is the seat of innovation. Like it's to live here, you just feel it on every level. It's part of the culture of this area. And I imagine going to Stanford with such a range of study there. You know, there's business, science, all these things married together. That must have been very inspiring.
yeah, it was very inspiring. Not just that's what I meant. Not only in the field of science or medicine or seeing patients come into the lab and talking to us, and we would work on their cells, and they would come and ask us, "Where are my cells? Show me in the microscope." That kind of interaction, even as because I'm not an MD where I get to see these people directly. I don't have. I'm not in the front line, or I don't usually see them. My advisor or dermatologist in the lab would go see them and bring us tissues and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that was not the case. They would walk into the lab sometimes, or we would be in the clinic sometimes. So that interaction that I got, the opportunity to work or see people
Mhm.
and what they were afflicted with, their emotions and their desire to get well, and many patients who would be willing to like foster science, would be willing to give tissues up and time, because they all wanted to see the advancement of science. They want to find a cure for this particular disease they're suffering from. And seeing their honesty and commitment to science in general and healing, and coming and talking to us all the time at the level of science, trying to understand the molecule. Why is this there? Why is not there? Why am I different? Why did I get this? Right? Things like that. The deep dive really made me, I think, set me on this path of healing. Felt happy that where I was is a good place, because if I can, and I can scratch the surface of science and do something for someone and myself, would be very fulfilling and gratifying, is what I felt at that time, and I still feel the same.
It's
uh,
wonderful. Well, let me ask you, so being steeped in research from the very beginning of your formal education, post-secondary, I wonder, I now that I mean I know you, so I know you have you're an Ayurvedic practitioner as well as, Stanford researcher and all of that. So when you were working with patients at Stanford in this way, When did Ayurveda come to an intersection for you to cultivate, to follow this path that you're now on? When did that happen? Was it later or was it then? Or did you grow up with Ayurveda?
Yes, it's a very beautiful question, Angela. Thank you for asking. And I think about it all the time as well. And I get asked about it too. So, yeah, I think the last line you said, growing up with Ayurveda, is what I attribute it to right now when I think about it. In India, I think Ayurveda is a lifestyle. People, because in amidst many things, many religions in India that thrive and not so well thrive, maybe, but in the communities and the so-called Hinduism that we call in India, at where I sit today, at my age and whatever I've learned in my life, living in two different countries and learning so much,
Mhm.
and looking at the good of all the things that I've learned, right, everywhere. I feel in India, it was like Ayurveda was the lifestyle. We lived Ayurvedically, right? And I didn't understand at that time things that I used to rebel with and fight with my mom or the community. I mean, I'm not a fighter, but in my mind, I didn't like to do this. I don't like this. And but then I feel like I feel a lot of things and a lot of positive things that I have today, and also the way I could survive when I came here. I have to give it to my mom and dad for doing that for me by teaching that routine, the dinacharya that we call in Ayurveda, right? The routine aspect of whether it's with even simple things like bowel movement. You have to go at a certain time. You have to. And I would like, why? And then they would make sure we had that time frame, right? Then the day started. That's a simple thing because I'm bringing it up because I hear that in my clients and patients, right? Lots of people come to me and constipation is a big issue right now, right? For many people. And it goes with sleep. And when I look at sleep, and when I look at bowel movement, that one thing that comes to me, and when I look back, how did I never have at least the bowel issues? I feel is that very young age that instilling in me that you have to go when you get up, you need to go, that's it, you cleanse yourself, that's cleansing, that's all they used to say, and that's probably what I used to rebel. Oh, why is it impure? Even if there was God, he will go, right? This kind of arguments a young child and mind does that. But I feel that is it. So Ayurveda has always walked with me. It's been in me. It's alongside me. But I didn't find it as an Ayurveda, as a science, right? I kept it, I thought it was life. That's not the science I wanted to pursue. I didn't feel that. Or didn't, and it wasn't that big when I was growing up in India. Maybe there were some people who were practicing in some places, and that's it. So the main science was my more of an interest, the Western science and the research. Lately, about in 2017, I lost my brother. I wanted to talk about this. Usually, I don't. Uh, and at the age of 54, he suddenly passed away cold. And I got a call, and it was the most shocking event of my life, actually. I can't even express it in words. But that when I came back, and the healing journey, which is still, I feel I've not healed totally. That led to me, like that. Actually, the one question I started to think was longevity, life, growing. I mean, why did this happen to him? You know, he's only 54, doing well. Of course, he had some health issues, but why? The question why was plaguing all of us, the whole family, all of us together, and friends. And it just plagues everybody even to this day. But he was at the prime of his life, and why? And so that led to me like, okay, I'm doing Western medicine, but there is still something missing. And that's when I realized the mind body balance. Yeah. And how in the Western world, I believe in the dualistic theory, the mind and the body is not together. And how in the Eastern medicine, we do feel mind body is one, and mind body balance and holistic approaches is important. So we were lucky enough to grow with Ayurveda, but we were unlucky that we didn't actually probably pay too much attention. This is why what happened, but it is a lesson for the rest of the us. And also, I felt like I could, the rest of my journey, the rest of my life, I would like to do something about it, understand the meaning of mind body balance, adapt some holistic approaches, and also learn and teach if I can to others around me, and especially myself and my family as well. So that's the journey. That's how the journey of Ayurveda actually sincerely started.
Yeah. So it was with the loss of your brother that you've really decided to dedicate this part of your life to Ayurveda. Is that what I'm hearing? Like, was that sort of like the intersection point we were talking about where, yeah.
Yeah, so I came back and then I still continued and worked on whatever, but there was always something like a void, a vacuum of something missing. This pain, of course, there's getting in terms with a person who's always been there for you. His older brother, he's always there, and that vacuum plus like looking for the meaning of life. What is this? I will be gone tomorrow, right? Just like he went,
Right.
and why, and the pain. So you start looking for things to fill that vacuum, to understand the meaning of life and death, and all other things, aspects that are there out there people think about it.
Mhm.
Understanding depression and still going on, you have to still keep going on because you have commitment to yourself, your life, your family, and life goes on and we move on. And that sometimes used to depress me too, like, oh, everything is the same, everything is working, I'm fine, I'm eating, I'm drinking, I'm still doing, but he's not there, kind of like, so you start thinking deeply, like, what is it, why did this happen, right? That question is plagued me quite a lot, and I couldn't find any meaning anywhere that the world I was in at that point. It was no answer. And I started to look around. Where could I go? I could have done a lot of things, right? I taught meditation classes, Vedanta classes, or yoga, for example. Go on hikes and tours and trips. I was very busy, like you are right now, with my daughter and her college admissions, and that
Yeah.
helped me a lot, totally. And so, yeah, we can keep ourselves busy, find a passion, find a hobby, or just deal with it and go on and on. But that was not me. For me, I needed to find a meaning, and how can I be useful for somebody, because there will be people who are also looking for a meaning like I am, and there could be people like my brother who could use some help, right? Maybe understand that. And we could save a life and save some grief for somebody down the road, or understand the meaning of, yes, it happened to him. That's fine. That's how it is. And that's his experiences. So I went and read Bhagavad Gita, and it says, that's how it is. He got his experiences, his time was up, and he left. Yeah, that's fine. I understood that. So that's when I realized that holistic medicine, I am a medicine person, right? I have to be in healing and therapy. And I cannot be, I'm very honest. I could not find peace in, say, in a temple or in a meditation class. I couldn't go to a class and join a community and just sit there. I felt aimless. I didn't know why I was there. So I had to go back and study Ayurveda. And I feel Ayurveda was my home. Like I said earlier, I felt, now I found a meaning. I found Ayurveda. And I have also found something where I can integrate Ayurveda and its holistic approaches, a very traditional old medicine, which
Mhm.
I understand. And it also is me, in me. And Western medicine has also become part of me, or science and research, with all these over 30 years of working in there.
Mhm.
And I felt I could merge them and maybe find something for myself. And maybe once I am on this journey, I can help find somebody else like me find something peaceful for themselves. So that's where it started.
Okay. No, I think it's the perfect place to start because it is the study of life, right? Like it's the greatest resource to really understand these times of confusion where there are questions about these major life instances, like you just mentioned, losing your beloved brother. I think that's a really beautiful approach to just dive deep into Ayurveda, because the mind body, you mentioned the mind body connection, and that's so deeply a part of everyday living, and most people don't acknowledge it. Because like the constipation, that's totally related to mind problems, right? Like not getting enough rest, not getting to bed early enough, and those rhythms of life that your parents taught you. I just think it's so lovely that that you have fallen back to that for grounding.
Mhm.
It's amazing that you have had the, I think it's sort of a privilege to grow up in an area where you are living the lifestyle of Ayurveda. You don't even know it's the lifestyle of Ayurveda. Like it's just the way of life, right? Like it's just what you're doing. And then you were able to come here and explore another part of yourself and really open up this science driven life. And now you're marrying the two, and it's just so brilliant. And I just want to honor your path. I think it's amazing. It's
Thank you.
amazing. You're welcome. So when so I know you're on the path to be an Ayurvedic doctor, right? Or are you, how, like you're almost there, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yes, almost.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
almost. But when did you in your dermatology research decide to dive into your skincare line that's sitting right behind you? And I really love your products. They're very lush, special. To me, they feel like a spa experience that I can do every day. How did that evolve? Was that part of the loss of your brother too? Where you were like, this is what I want to do? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Angela. I know you've been a very big supporter of Surrasa, and some of this stuff, lines and expressions and feelings and emotions that you've expressed with me and in reviews and stuff about Surrasa,
Yeah.
uh, is really, I appreciate it. I mean, it's a very different, some of these things that you have said, have never even thought of it, and it helps me understand my product better, so thank you for that.
No, I love it when we create products and they go out in the world. They're like, they're living things, right? Like people experience them, they get to live what you're putting out there. It's wonderful. So I'm glad. Thanks for the feedback. I like that.
Yeah, because as a scientist, sometimes you just think science, but it's just people like you who use it and tell me like, oh yeah, this is there too. I didn't think about it right when I was making, because I was doing something very different. So yeah, so of course, yes, the brief, of course, right? Like I said, like holistic and Ayurveda, but it's just so by the way, I do practice Ayurveda. I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner already. I still wanted to be finish it and complete it, because that's about me. I like to finish my journeys. Whatever I start, I have to finish and get to the end. And I could have stopped as an Ayurvedic practitioner, but I wanted to be an AYD, Ayurveda doctor, though it doesn't mean a lot. I know different practitioners can do everything in the US. Um, it's just something like a circle, reaching that full circle, right? And then at least I don't have it in my mind that I didn't do this. So get it done kind of thought. Yeah, so I'm just about 2-3 months away from getting it. So thank you.
Wonderful. That's a big deal. It's a long program. So my hats are off to you. It's great.
Thank you. And I'm also about to get a certification in functional medicine, board certification, taking an exam soon. So that's where I wanted to marry both the Western practices and the Eastern science. And I think that it just generally helps me. I'm not saying it's needed, but it's just for me. It's a personal desire, and also for me being integrative about Western medicine and Eastern is more of an important. Bringing the duality and the non-duality together is what I'm pursuing in a way, right? So when I started, so when I started the journey of Ayurveda, I still kept looking for where should I use this knowledge? Now I'm going to acquire it, but I'm always like looking for something to ground, right? I mean, I need to put a stake in the ground kind of feeling. So I found there were many parallels between Western medicine, the pharmaceutical principles, sorry, and of course, Ayurveda as a distinct class of therapy or medicine. There were many parallels and similarities. Both are diagnostic, both can be therapeutic, and both approach support human health and their well-being in their own way. So I thought, why don't I bring it together and think of products which could improve and support health or keeping people healthy, especially when you're looking at chronic conditions. And I also feel skin is where a lot of things that are wrong internally, systemically, will express itself. It could be years of something wrong in your body inside. It'll come out and show in your skin. So if I, instead of going after, say, cardiovascular health, which would have been the most logical with my brother passing away with a heart attack, or my dad suffering from Parkinson's, or my things like that, I would have been neuroscience, being a student of neuroscience in the past, worked with oncology. Any of these are very interesting subjects. Women's health, it's very close to me. I love talking about and studying or giving talks on women health and hormones. But then, and Ayurveda is also not like about distinct classes, at least not that I know of. But when you talk about mind, body health and balancing, then it's just the total thing, right? The body and the mind. And then skin is where, like I said, the action is at the end. And that is where I have done a lot of years, spent my time in dermatology. So it was a very natural progression towards skin, and also there were so many chronic conditions in skin that could actually benefit from having a product, I felt, which would be healing and at least maintaining. And Ayurveda is also about prevention, right?
Right.
Personalized. So when I looked at all these aspects, and I looked at the traditional Indian form of medicine and how we can blend the physiology, the psychology, and the emotional beliefs and stuff in Ayurveda with the modern medical system, even like Chinese medicine can be blended in. That's how Surrasa emerged out of all that thought process.
It's amazing. So, yeah, I agree. I think the skin can be so revealing. And once you learn how to map the face in particular, and also, the arms, like the whole body, you can map your tongue, you can map that, what's going on with someone when you see their tongue hanging out. It's like, oh, you need some help, right? I love that was your choice. I mean, you've studied so much. I mean, Usha, I didn't know you studied all this stuff. Like, I'm like overwhelmed with excitement just to know the resource that's housed in you. I just feel like anyone who's buying your skincare line, like, they're in really good hands here. I just love that. Thank you for sharing a little bit, I mean, a lot about your background. I guess one thing that I'm wondering is, what do you do? What's your beauty routine? And how do you keep the mind-body connection just cogent in your life? Like, how do you make that really sound to keep you grounded? So a two-part question: the beauty routine, and then how do you stay grounded?
Beauty routine. I'm not it may not sound very good about my product line here, but I'm not a very big on beauty. Like, I don't usually, when I was younger, maybe when I moved to, when I came to this country, just like everybody in their 20s or teens do now, but I was here in my 20s. Of course, you're always enamored, and you love wanting to try all the products out there and learn about everything out there for L'Oreal or Estee Lauder and stuff like that. So of course, I still love some of their products because I don't make their products, and they make some beautiful products. Like, like for skin and beauty. But growing up in India, there was always this thing called massaging, self-massage, abhyanga. So something that I have routinely adhered to, and I still do at least on a weekly basis, is massaging myself with oil, because I have a tendency to be a little bit on the drier side, so it helps Ayurvedically. So I do massage. In India, it was mostly like either coconut oil, weekly hair massage, because my mom was very big on that. So we would do that weekly hair massage and then go have our showers and stuff like that. So now I understand that was actually good because it would remove the toxins and keep my scalp microbiome good, in a good condition and stuff. So very critical. So that I still practice, and that's one thing. Now I use different kinds of herbs in my oils. So like my hair abhyanga or my body massages, and also some of my products too can be used for massage if somebody wants to do that. So now I understand that there's so many herbs, the saffron or the manjishtas or the neems, or you can call gotakola. There is so many that people are using, and we can make many different oils, whether it's for pain or just for maintenance. So that helps a lot. So that my go-to routine mostly is now a massage in a weekly basis or every other week. I stay very close to the earth, very close to nature. That's another thing. That's always been the case with me. So I try to eat my fruits. I'm very in season, whatever is in season. That's one thing I'm very, very particular. I don't like to eat fruits or vegetables which are not in season still, and that's like feel like old school. I know, but that's me. Fresh. I am very particular about fresh. And even if I'm supposed making lemon juice at home and the lemons are around, I tend to apply the lemon on my face, I'm like, okay, there goes my vitamin C. So I apply. I know it's not easy to absorb like that, but it still helps a lot. A lemon oil, you can make oils and absorb. So I do things like that. So I tend to use whatever we eat on our body as well. So that's something that I am very particular about. Right. Always use Ayurvedic, natural kind of, not Ayurvedic, but natural soaps. Even if I went to Europe and I would find something natural, a lavender soap or something there local, I would buy and use them without any artificial stuff in there. I love those kind of things. Going to farmers markets and finding some of these very niche things, and if they're good for the skin and I feel good, I usually stick to it. So they stay natural.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I love, love, love that you put fresh lemon juice on your face from time to time, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, I love that.
Sorry, I have 3 persimmon trees in my house for some odd reason. Okay, this year there's not been that many persimmons, but we have one big tree in the backyard which I would have loved to bring it. There was none on the tree this year, but this big a persimmon, right? So and then they start becoming so soft and they start falling. They're all those few kind. I don't have the other one, and I hate to lose all of that, right? So I collect the pulp of the persimmon and we eat as much. And my stomach doesn't take persimmon very well, but I try as much. Some cooking is okay.
Yeah.
I applied because it's red in color, and I was very intrigued, like carrots, right? It's loaded with carotenoids, great for anti-aging, rejuvenating, and it's loaded with good minerals like zinc, and I think is all that very good for immune system. So why not skin immunity as well? So in the season, usually from like say now till like Feb or something, once a week, twice a week, I actually just apply like persimmon on my face. So I'm not saying I don't find it out there. I'm looking for persimmon dried powder to make a product because I feel very rejuvenated. It's very jelly. Like I think it actually helps rejuvenate my collagens and elastins I feel in my skin. And I eat one, I apply a bit on my face, then I let it dry and go wash it off or take a shower. So these are some things I do on a routine basis, some innovative stuff that I don't think you'll find somewhere in a
Well,
day.
I know I also I do a weekly fresh facial for my face, neck, décolleté, and hands. Like, and it's messy. Like, people don't want to do this kind of stuff 'cause it's messy. I talk to my clients about it and they're just like, oh, no. But look at you. Like, look at your skin. It's so lovely. And I think that adding like fresh vitality onto the skin, of course, it's much better than a jarred anything. Like, there's only so much vitality you can get, from something that's jarred. So it's not completely easy or efficient. That's not what we're going for here, but the results are magnificent, right? Like, and for the hair too, the scalp could be very rejuvenating to the scalp. So since I've got like a real hardcore scientist right here, right with me right now, let me ask you, could you explain to our listeners about transdermal action with oils on the skin? Because sometimes people feel like they buy a jarred thing from, department store or something. And what happens? Like, there are preservatives and things like that. Does that go into your skin if you have something with those kinds of things? How does that work? Because some people feel like it doesn't actually go through the skin. Can you explain a little bit of that? Is it possible? This is a surprise question. Sorry.
So yeah, no, I'm happy you asked me this question. Yes, it does go through. I mean, if it is dissolved, it's a small molecule. It can get through the stratum corneum, of course. If it can, I don't know the sizes of these, but if it is, it can go through. Especially if it is oil soluble, right? If it is in the salt, if it can get dissolved in the oil, and many things probably do. Unlike vitamin C, that it doesn't, and it's water soluble. There is a different form of vitamin C that they tout and they say it's much more effective. But vitamin C, if it's totally vitamin C serums which are in water, no, it doesn't. It's there in your top layer and it's out. It doesn't do much. But oil, anything that is oil soluble, will get through your skin,
Mm-hmm.
and if it's small enough in the size. So there's different ways of getting, I mean, our body has different ways of getting into the dermis. That's transdermal, right? We're talking skin, which is stratum corneum, the epidermis, and then there's dermis. Dermis is where the action is, where everything happens, because it's most of the living stuff, where the blood vessels are there. It's innervated with nerves as well, pain. Of course, there's immune aspects and immune cells even in our other layers of the skin as well. But dermis is where most of the action happens. And when we are applying the oil, it gets absorbed, goes deeper into the dermis. And we want that sometimes, right? That's where we want the action is. And we want the active molecules to reach the dermis, because that's where it will find its receptors or find its counterparts and start doing the pathways that we need, whether it's wrinkles or pigmentation, or even, of course, melanocytes are at the bottom of it, like at the epidermis and the dermis, but that's where most of these actions happen. So
Okay.
yeah.
So then let me just ask one more question. So, like your products, for example. So, is the most effective way to use products like yours to use them every day, twice a day? If you use it one time, what's the difference between using something one time and using it every day? I mean, I think it's kind of obvious, but just to hear from you would be really helpful. If you could explain it.
Yeah. So when we're talking about oil-based products, for example,
Yeah.
we're talking about products which ingredients which are lipophilic, meaning they love the oil. They get into the oil, right? And Um, so a lot of my products, I have some products which are mostly oily, right? Because we call them the oil like moisturizers. But I'm very particular about using good oils for our skin, which are not comedogenic, which won't create those acne kind of acne or comedones on our skin or clog our pores, basically.
Yeah.
And also I also try to add stuff which could be exfoliating, so it will prevent, even if it like that is also there in exfoliating herbs or exfoliating um, ingredients in there. And all the herbs itself has it, so that's the power we are actually harnessing in our products, is we're actually using the total herb, and then the total herb will have some exfoliating aspects to it, and that's what we are like. Glycolic acids, DHAs, and the DHAs and stuff are in there already, coming through the herb itself when we extract, because we extract the oil loving and the water loving as well, and then we actually make the product.
Okay.
So coming back to your, I forgot what was the question now.
So just the question, the effectiveness of, like, if you're looking to have some real softness, softening of fine lines and wrinkles, using like your products or a product a couple times a day, right? That's how it needs to work for it to work. And then talking about like the transdermal nature, does adding like a toner help the oils to sink in? I've learned that. So what is your take on that?
um
Sometimes, or
I
doesn't really matter?
It doesn't, yeah, I mean, a toner will help with the pores, right? That's the tightening the pores is mostly often what we are using the toners for.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but getting in the oil ingredients deeper, I have to think about it. I don't know.
Okay.
But depends on what the toner is. But generally, the toners are used to
Good.
on your skin. I mean, like tighten the pores so that you don't have open big pores and then have all the other issues that have. Yeah, but coming back to applying it twice or thrice or
Yeah.
once, all back to the potency of the product. So if I was a pharmaceutical product that we would have made in my past life, we would tell 1 time a day or 2 time a day, and we would also be very particular about saying a pea size, or like a little
Yes. Okay.
something like that. We would be very particular because like a pea size would be like a 1 gram, and we would map the phase, and there is like something like a formula for how much to be applied per square centimeter of your skin and how much of the active ingredient should get in.
Yeah.
But when we are talking about herbal products or products like I have made here, the potency is a little like it's low,
Hmm.
and since it's a herbal product, you don't have that kind of side effects that you would get if you use more. So
Okay.
you can, and then there's also the every ingredient has a benefit for your skin, the butters and the oils as well as the active ingredients in there, because some are immune supporting, some are anti-allergic. So it's a holistic approach. It's a holistic. There's no one pathway here. So with that in mind, if somebody has a chronic condition like say eczema, and we support our
Yeah.
Shanti line supports eczema kind of skin, so you can apply 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a day if you want, but at least to get maximum benefit, I would say twice a day at least.
Okay, great. I'm so glad you mentioned the just the nature of the oils that we're talking about. If it's medicinal, of course, it'll be something different. I really
Yeah.
appreciate I really appreciate your time today. It's been such a pleasure having this conversation with you. Is there a place, how can people find you and your work? Like, how can people work with you? You're obviously an incredible resource for health and wellness and beauty. How can people do both with you?
They can find me anywhere. I mean, I have a website, surrasa.com. Please drop me an email or a DM me on Instagram. I have Surrasa Instagram and also my own Instagram. Feel free to reach out to me. Facebook as well. I'm on all that social media. We are also on TikTok, so that's also another thing. Surrasa can find people can find me there. I'm very approachable. I love talking to people, communicating. I love to spread the word of not Ayurveda only, but holistic integrative medicine. If some people are using Western approaches or cosmetics and they don't want to give them, or like I have people who want to drink their coffee no matter what, things like that. I work with them about how to use and integrate holistic, herbal, natural approaches with wherever you are. So my goal is to meet the person where they are and then bring them slowly towards what is good for them. So I like that personalized approach. I believe in personalization and prevention as well. So I like to work with people in that way. Um, I don't mind having interns. I've always had interns in my life from my Stanford days till now. So if somebody wants to become an intern, that's also another way that I open up my doors. So, and my knowledge and learn, because young people are always, they can teach so much. I feel I'm so always learning from younger people around me. And that also keeps me young. So that's another thing.
Oh, it's a very dynamic approach. I love you just represent Ayurveda in such a wonderful way, very magnanimous. So you do one-on-one consultations, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You've got
Yeah.
your skincare line. Are there any other programs that you're offering right now, or are those kind of the two ways people can work with you?
I do offer some programs, but I have not done it for the last few months
Yeah.
uh, since. But my goal is to start a program on women's health soon, like a little bit of a class, whether 3 weeks or 6 weeks, with a doctor who was also very interested to do something like that. And then yeah, so that is something. Skin health classes would be something that I'm looking to start. I did a few earlier this year and last year as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so women's health, skin health, aging and longevity is something that I may be doing a class of.
Beautiful. I love it. Well, we'll put all of these links and information in the show notes. And I just want to thank you for being here today, Usha. It's just such a pleasure. I've loved working with you and just exploring skincare with you. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks for being on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it too, Angela. You've been a very great find. And when you ask me how do you find people, for example, LinkedIn. Sorry, I forgot that.
Yeah, LinkedIn is a wonderful resource, of course, like just great for networking and finding people in your field. So thanks for being here.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to
Oh
mention
yeah.
before. Yeah. So I have been doing. I have a groups like Ayurveda and Science. I have one group on LinkedIn as well, and I have been starting other places. So that's another way to find me is where people can talk about their concerns and look at scientific evidence for anything, whether it's Ayurveda or the natural sciences. So that's something that I have as well.
That's wonderful. I love that you're elevating the research around Ayurveda because there is a whole body of work of research that I don't think people are aware of, but it's there. So I'm glad that you're contributing to that. That's wonderful. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you, Angela. It was wonderful talking to you. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Namaste. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate
Bye.
it.